Hello YouTubers, this is Hengster Reviews here. Today I'm joined with my good friend Will. We're going to do our top 5 classic stories of Doctor Who. This has been a plan for quite a while now. I think back in about a year ago we did talk about this, but we did do a top 5 together, we exchanged it. I think our opinions have changed quite a bit, dramatically. Just to take a note to this, I haven't seen all the Doctor Who classic stories. I've probably seen quite a bit though, probably about... I've probably seen about 20, not many, but Will has probably seen all of the Doctor. He probably owns them. So let's get started with number 1. I'll start.
Okay.
My number 5 is The Mind Roller, starring Patrick Troughton and with Jamie. The companions are Jamie and Zoe. What I like about this story that I think for a long time as a kid I was trying to get into classic series, but I didn't bother with the black and white stuff because kids don't really like black and white television at that time. But I think when I kind of grown and matured, I really wanted to watch a black and white story because there's so many good black and white Doctor Who out there. William Hartnell or Patrick Troughton. So I bought this one. This was the first black and white one I bought, and I love this. And I think the story is incredible. How it's beautifully written by Peter Ling, how he uses friction and components of friction as the main story, and I love the practical effects. You know, the toy soldiers, the Medusa, the white robots. And it also has that I can't remember his name. That actor, that supported character. What's his name? Bernard Horsfall, the guy who he would play the Time Lord in the War Games and the Deadly Assassin. And the story is incredible to watch. I love there's 2 things I really like about the story. The first one is when the TARDIS kind of explodes, but it's not like you would see in Doctor Who nowadays. It's kind of like separated into pieces. Like you would drop the TARDIS on the floor, it just cracked into pieces. So this is one thing I really liked about the story. The second one is how Jamie was frozen, kind of freeze, turned into a picture, and the Doctor has to make his face again. And what I liked about it is they actually changed the actor, because the guy who plays Jamie,
he was ill.
Yeah, he had chicken pox during the time. I don't know how long for. It must have been about for like a week or so.
2 episodes or so.
Yeah, was it? I'm sorry, it was just 1 episode.
Maybe, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was like part 2 to part 3. Then he came back to the same episode. So he must have been chickenpox for a week. So they changed the actor and how they use that component. I mean, you wouldn't see that in Doctor Who nowadays, or it wouldn't be that interesting. So it has some great things to it. Definitely some really clever things about you wouldn't see in Doctor Who today. I definitely recommend this black and white story if you want to get introduced to a Patrick Troughton or a black and white story. So definitely pick it up. Your number 5 now, Will?
So my number 5 is another Patrick Troughton, The Tomb of the Cybermen. This was my first black and white, incidentally, and I find it a very interesting story. Although it follows the same basic pattern as the previous 2 cyber stories, in that it shows how the Cybermen sort of pick off the people one by one. It is nonetheless one of the best classic cyber stories that I've seen, and they managed to turn that idea of picking people off one by one into a great big screen, and there's very powerful acting in it, I believe, and for once in a while in this story we hear a mention of the Doctor's family, although this mention isn't explored that much in detail.
Oh yeah.
And
I did hear about the I haven't seen Tomb of the Cybermen, but I will go into it at some point. I
recommend it.
Yeah, I have seen scenes of it when the Doctor tries to talk to Zoe.
It's Victoria.
Victoria. Oh, I get confused with those 2. Talks to Victoria, and they exchange he talks about. He doesn't go to depth. It's probably about a 30-second paragraph of his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's good about this is that in this story, although she appeared in the previous story, Victoria only becomes a companion in this story, which I think is a good story to introduce a companion because
Yeah.
it's at the start of a season. It's at the start of his second season, I think, and it's one of those only of one or two stories in that season that have actually survived,
Oh,
along with the Enemy of the World
oh yes,
and most of the Web of Fear.
Yes, yes. I think the only story you can get for that is the part. Well, not even the full story is the moon base.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
that's
it's partially animated as
yeah.
well.
That was like it wasn't. Was it like 10 years ago? That one we managed to find that one or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was included in the Lost in Time
Oh
DVD,
yes,
but it was only recently that they re-released it with partial animation.
yes.
Yeah. So I'll definitely recommend this one
I
as
had
a cyber story.
yeah, like I said, I have seen scenes of that when the Cybermen or like breaks free and they
Yeah.
walk down the ladders. The music is beautifully
Yeah, oh, yeah.
shot and
The music is well done as well.
yeah, absolutely. Alright, my number four?
Oh,
My number four is really strange. For a long time, it used to be number one, but I rewatched a few, and this one is still a great story, but there's a few I would put over it, and that is the Pyramids of Mars. Starring Tom Baker and Elizabeth
Elizabeth Sladen.
Elizabeth Sladen. I think this story is such an incredible horror to it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best. Yeah, it's a great
Right.
component of horror. It uses like mummies, robot mummies, and Sutek, who's the main villain of this. He, I mean, most of the time of the story, he doesn't do anything, but you're so fascinated at what he can do and how he controls the Doctor. He just torments him. That's probably one of the villains, like, who actually torments him, like, instead of just chase after him round and round in circles. But this one, this this story is incredible, and it also, I love the. It's like one of my favorite bits of this story is like every time when the Doctor has an idea. Um, he had about like four ideas. He tries them out one by one, and they all just fall apart. Yeah, yeah. Sutek Giant gets in the way, ruins it. Also, the recurring cat. It's not a great cat, great bunch of actors, but I really like them how they play a main part of the story, but they also died at some parts of the story. And I think one of the upsetting things about this story is probably the hypnotized guy who was controlled
Marcus Scarman.
Marcus Scarman, yeah, who was controlled by Sutek, goes to see his brother, and he tries to snap out of it, but unfortunately it all turns out he ends up killing him, and that was quite upsetting. I kind of thought, but it's beautiful.
One notable thing about that is, which I did find odd, was when the Doctor dressed up as a mummy.
Yeah.
What I find weird is that Marcus Scarman didn't notice him, especially as he controlled all the mummies telepathically. So shouldn't he have noticed the Doctor under that disguise?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing that struck me as odd.
Yeah, and one of the things is how do you actually get into that suit? That's like because it's all kind of like how do you get into the mummy suit? That's what I didn't understand. Yeah, I love the robot mummies. I love Sutek. I really hope they can bring this back at some point. I would have preferred if they. I kind of think if Sutek really should have come back in the 50th anniversary, but I think no. I kind of think bring him back. Not at the moment, where how Doctor Who is at the moment. Maybe bring it back in a couple of years. Bring back Sutek, bring back the robot mummies, or bring some elements back into it. Because this story is incredible. I think the only negative thing about this, or nitpick I would say, is probably the last part when it's kind of like just a massive rush, and it's all back to happy ending kind of thing. Yeah. So that's it. Number four, Pyramids of Mars, must watch.
Okay, my number 4 is Carnival of Monsters. Once again, Robert Holmes displays a very good tale. It's notable for the Third Doctor being released by his exile, from his exile by the Time Lord. And I really love the Drashigs. They're excellently realised monsters, although their role is quite sort of limited. But there's another creature which is a plesiosaur which appears, but it's not nearly as convincing as the Drashings. I think it's a nice little tale, a pleasant little interlude between the three doctors and the very serious frontier in space. The only disappointing thing I would say about this is there's one species in it known as the functionaries. They're workers who seem to do little more than just stand around and grunt. Given that they're obviously oppressed, it's strange to see that the Doctor doesn't take up their cause and help them, instead of just doing what he does in the story. But overall, it's a nice little four-parter. I would definitely recommend it to John Pertwee. I think this was also my first John Pertwee, so I think it was a good starter.
That was my first John Pertwee as well. I remember renting it back when, not Blockbusters, but kind of like you could just rent a disc.
Oh yeah?
Like, what's it called? Love Film, I think it's called. Back when you could just rent.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I remember watching that, and I think I was about 10 or 11 at the time. So I was getting introduced to classic series, and I believe that's probably my second one. My first was Remembrance of the Dark, and I watched that one, and I love that cliffhanger. The practical effects are incredible. The monster, the boat.
I think all the cliffhangers are very good.
Yeah, my favourite one, the one that, because it kind of really scared me, the first one, was the one with the hand, and
the hand comes up
and it picks, and I really like, wow, that's actually pretty good.
The second cliffhanger was good because it actually shows the Drashing in it.
Yeah,
which is good. But yeah, I'll definitely recommend this.
And
to the beginning.
There's a funny bit when it doesn't really play part of the story, but you know when the I can't remember the guy with the glasses, the guy who makes the.
Oh yeah.
And he has that telly computer thing, and he shows the
miniscope.
The miniscope, and he shows them like all the. Yeah, he shows them the Cybermen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a Cyberman and an Ogron.
Ogron, yeah, and he's like, that's probably the only time you probably see a Cyberman in
a John Pertwee.
Yeah, that's it really, and that
which is weird.
Which is weird. I mean, why do they never bring back Cybermen in the John Pertwee era? That's so weird.
I know, but overall, it's a nice story.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend it.
Okay, my number 3 is The Caves at Androsani. Written by Robert Holmes and directed by Graham Harper. Yeah, I think the best director and the best writer of the story.
Robert Holmes again.
Yeah, just Robert Holmes. You could always, yeah. I think the story is really fascinating. I think I could watch this and just learn so much more from this every time. It's like a story you've got to watch you have to watch it so many times to like really explore this story, because this is incredible. Peter Davison isn't really my favourite Doctor. He's probably like one of my least favourite Doctors, because he's always that. He started off really happy and cheerful, like very.
And got sort of quite dark.
Yeah, through time when he had to do when bad things happened to him, like Adric died and he had to kill the chameleon. Yeah, the chameleon, and companions left because they were scared of getting killed, or they didn't like all this killing and stuff going on. And this story really represents him really well.
I think the only thing that story which fails it is the magma creature. Is just one of those creatures that just looks like a man in a suit, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think, given that the cliffhangers to episode 1 and 3 are good, the cliffhanger to episode 2 is much less.
Oh yeah.
Better. Much less better.
Yeah.
A lot worse, in fact.
Yeah, the first cliffhanger is incredible, because you actually thought, are they actually dead?
Yeah.
But the supporting characters in this, like the what's the element called in this? The
Spectrox.
The Spectrox, yes. I think that plays a really great key plot in this, and the characters, you know, like the I can't remember the characters, you know. Shara's Jack. The characters are absolutely fascinating. Morgus, they're absolutely fascinating, and this could probably this probably has the best supporting characters, a bunch of great actors. And I love how there isn't really a villain in this really kind of thing. It kind of the Doctor is kind of like in the middle of this war zone, so there isn't and he's always like between sides at some point.
Yeah.
So I think the story's incredible. I think the characters are really fascinating. You can actually make your own story out of these characters, that kind of thing. And the ending, I think this is probably the best regeneration story. One of the best. Not 100% sure. Haven't seen the War Games. Haven't seen Planet of the Spiders. I would put it over Logopolis. Haven't seen Ultimate Foe. The movie that counts, I guess. Yeah, I put it on. It's better than the movie. I put it on the same level as Night of the Doctor. Put this on the same level as Bad Wolf and the Parting Ways. Put this on the same level as End of Time. Time of the Doctor I really like. So this is probably the best regeneration story. I definitely recommend this. This is probably the best Peter Davison, and probably, yeah, great. I mean, I'm not a huge Peter Davison fan. That's the problem, but this really is like. This gives me hope for Peter Davison because I don't know. This is really something I really want to see more of Peter Davison. So what's your number?
My number 3 is The Five Doctors. It's a brilliant 20th anniversary tale.
Yeah.
The only problem being is it has actor problems. And that Tom Baker doesn't really appear in it.
Yeah.
So they had to take material from the unaired Sharda for his appearance, and the fact that William Hartnell died almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So they had to cast Richard Herndl, which admittedly was a very good double for William Hartnell, I think. But overall, it's quite a small problem, really. You know, John Pertwee and Patrick Troughton slipping back into their roles with very good ease, and Peter Davison remains the central Doctor who uncovers the true villain. I think it's very good. It has a lot of continuity references and many old companions of villains to make it better.
Yeah.
I think, along with Caves of Androzani, I think it's one of the most outstanding stories of Peter Davison's era. I think I would definitely recommend it. I think it's better than the Three Doctors.
Oh, really?
Really, I think it's better than Three
I
Doctors.
would
I mean, I
put
like
that up in discussion. I think. Yeah.
I mean, I like the Three Doctors, but I think I like this a bit more.
Do you prefer it more than the Day of the Doctor?
I think the Day of the Doctor, I think I like a bit more than
Yeah.
this one. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Day of the Doctor is my favourite Matt Smith story.
Really? I would put
Or
that.
at least one of them.
Yeah, I don't really count that as a Matt Smith story. I count it as like a
Multi-Doctor.
Yeah, like a multi-Doctor story, or an anniversary story. Yeah, I'm a bit upset because Tom Baker wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Tom Baker's my favourite Doctor. And they reused, Sharda, they never aired it, but it's out on DVD. You just check it out.
Yeah.
William Hartnell, because that was probably I never was really introduced to William Hartnell when I was young. I remember watching this one. You wouldn't notice. If you were a young kid, you wouldn't notice. Oh, did they change actors? If somebody told you, oh yeah, I can understand.
Yeah. It's one of those rare stories which has a sequence before the opening titles. It has a scene from the Dalek invasion of Earth. It's when the Doctor gives a speech near the end when he says goodbye to Susan.
Yeah.
I think there are only one or two other stories that does this, like Time and the Rani and Remembrance of the Daleks. They do this where they have a little sequence before the opening titles.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, they do it now these days in the modern Doctor, which I don't mind. If they didn't have it, you wouldn't care. But what I was going to say, is that split into parts, or is it just one?
It's just one big movie.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And the other thing, it's actually before I was just saying because John Pertwee doesn't deal with Cybermen. Actually, he does in this story. He
does, yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot. Oh, and that robot, the
Raston Warrior.
That is
one of my favourite.
Yeah, that is probably.
It just takes down the whole squad of Cybermen.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Yeah, and Jamie and Zoe.
Jamie and Zoe, yeah.
Yeah, they do a little appearance in this story.
Yeah, a couple of them. A couple of companions do. I think Mike Yates and Liz Shaw make an appearance.
Did they?
Yeah. During the third Doctor's time, Mike Yates, he was unit captain.
Oh,
yeah. Liz Shaw was only there for
John
Pertwee's first season.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that
But
story.
yeah, it's very good. I would recommend
I
it.
think it could have been better, but due to actors and actresses had other plans at the time, and Tom Baker just didn't want to come back.
No.
Yeah, so
I think a reason being that he hadn't been long gone from the season, so he
yeah,
thought, oh, we only he thought people would think, oh, we've only had just finished having him.
yeah, because the Five Doctors took place.
1983, I think.
Was it after his second series?
I think yeah, Peter Davidson's second season.
Yeah, that was
In between season 3 and
yeah,
three.
yeah, because that story doesn't count in a season. Unlike the Three Doctors, that count as John Pertwee's second to last series, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my number 2 is written by Douglas Adams and starring Tom Baker, and that is The City of Death. I think starring Romana, the second incarnation of Romana, and I love these. Right, so there's a dog in the way. I think this is probably the most relaxing story um, to Doctor Who. I really do, because it has some great comedy, and the cinematography of Paris, or how Tom Baker and the Fourth Doctor just goes around Paris is just
Shall I get him away? I'll get him away.
yeah, just
Sorry, keep going.
yeah. So like I was saying, this is probably the most relaxing story to watch. I really think because it's so fascinating. It's quite a lot. This is probably the Doctor Who story that's really has a breath and lets you laugh the humanity.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how Tom Baker makes his one wit liners. And like I was saying, because classic Doctor Who, they don't. It's mostly studio bound kind of stuff.
Yeah. So they have one set in another country.
Yeah.
A nice break.
Like they can do it now these days quite a bit, and you just wouldn't care because
It's just like, oh, Paris.
yeah, they got married. I mean, they got money. I mean, because the Six Doctors did they went to America in Texas, the Impossible Astronaut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't like. So how they do it in Paris is so beautifully shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I love the villain in this and how he plays the main plot in this. How he's scattered into pieces, especially in that. Is it no? It's the second cliffhanger when he goes back in time to meet Leonardo da Vinci. And he's I can't remember the villain in this. It's can you remember the villain?
The villain, Scarrow.
Scarrow, yeah. So yeah, Scarrow is already there, and he's already dressed up and everything. It's like, what are you doing here? I should ask you the same thing. And that's like you really scratch your head around there. And it's not really like the plot. It's so how the alien steals these paintings and tries to make money out of it, so he can make a certain machine to so he can go back. But the consequences are you're going to be fracturing time quite a bit. Humans won't exist. So, and I love the I can't remember the detective who's in this, and he's quite Duggan, yeah. And there's some characters like a third one in the Doctor Who story. And it's kind of like they should bring him. He should be a new companion. I think I wouldn't say Duggan should be a new companion, but I would say give him a second chance. Bring him
another regular character.
Could be like bring him do another Paris episode, or he could come.
It's like Danny Pink in the new ones. Make him a bit of a semi-regular.
Yeah, bring him that. But
one thing that was odd, that when the Doctor, Romana and Duggan went back to, what was it, 400 million years ago?
Yeah.
How could they breathe in that atmosphere of 400 million years ago? How could they breathe? There wasn't any oxygen, or much less.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just check what messages. Nothing. So yeah, this is definitely my number 2. I really like Romana quite a lot. I think she's probably arguably my favourite classic companion, if Sarah Jane Smith, because I really like, even though and this is probably his last best Tom Baker story, I think.
Mhm.
The one that's kind of like 10 out of 10 story to you,
Yeah.
because this is probably, it's not far off from the ending.
Mhm.
So I think,
Yeah.
it's probably his second to last series. His last series is a bit, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So I did,
nothingy.
yeah, luckily. So this is probably his best story from his second to last series, which is Series 6.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Series 6. Yeah, definitely Series 6. So I definitely recommend this one, guys. A lot of fun, a lot of laughter, and it's really relaxing to watch, I really think. So, what's your number 3?
My
Wait, what's your number 2?
Yeah.
Your
My
two.
number 2 is another Tom Baker, Brain and Morbius. Terence Dicks and Robert Holmes, they came together to write this, and it's one of those typical Philip Hinchcliffe stories where it's very dark and gothic. One inspiration of this story being Frankenstein's monster, where you just have a crazy scientist creating a monster out of like dead body parts. And perhaps one of the best moments is the when the Doctor and Morbius have a mind bending contest. And in that scene, many fans have thought that there have been previous incarnations of the Doctor before William Hartnell, although in a lot of other media, um, there's been too much evidence to suggest that there wasn't
Yeah.
a Doctor before William Hartnell. Even though this story has had a lot of criticism for it being too dark and violent, it is another one of Doctor Who's all-round classics. One of Tom Baker's absolute best.
Yeah.
I think. I love it. It's a very good appearance by Philip Murdoch, who has appeared in several Doctor Who's, most notably the War Games,
Yeah.
which is another very classic Doctor Who story, another classic regeneration story. I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
So yeah, definitely want to recommend.
I
Tom
haven't
Baker.
seen the Brain and Warriors, and I don't really know much about the Brain and Warriors. I will check it out though at some point.
It's good.
When did that take place? Was it after Terror of the Saigons?
It's basically you have the Brain of Morbius, and then there's the android invasion, and then there's this one. So it's just before the Seeds of Doom.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I
So
thought.
it's in in Tom Baker's second season.
Oh okay.
It's after Terror of the Saigons.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely check that out at some
It's
point.
good. It's a good one.
Yeah. So let's do our number 1. My number 1 has to be. Where is my number 1 actually?
Down somewhere.
Yeah, hiding. My number 1. This is probably the first classic story I bought. I probably had this since the beginning, since it came out. So this story must be about 9 or 10 years old, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this probably, if and I'm just Genesis of the Daleks. For a long, this is probably always be in my top 5. Sometimes it could be 3, sometimes it could be 5 or 4. But this is probably at the moment it's number 1. I rewatched it probably over the 10th time, and this story just gets better and better every time you watch it. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it really is quite dark, and it's just because it has Daleks. Don't get me wrong, but it's not really a Dalek story. It's more like the origins of the Daleks. That's what it's called, Genesis. But yeah. So, but you
The
know,
Daleks don't serve the main plot. They're
yeah,
more like a sideline.
yeah. You could just take away the Daleks. Really, you could mention the Daleks and probably show blueprints of the Daleks. Actually, that would be a different story. But you could make proto. I think, yeah, but it's all about the the chemistry between Davros and Fourth Doctor,
Yeah.
and this really kind of brought back the Daleks to life. I mean,
Yeah.
it brings in a whole new meaning to them.
Terry Nation is just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love the companions, Harry and
Sarah.
Sarah.
And actually, I remember one very good reference from Journey's End.
Yeah.
When Davros sees Sarah and said, "No, I know that face. Like, you were there at the very beginning of my creations."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene
So-
when he first tries them out and excellent. Yeah, it's so powerful.
Nice little references.
I love the cliffhangers.
Right.
They're all great in so many ways. They're not on the same level as Suspense, but they're so great.
Mm.
I love Davros. Davros should definitely come back, I think.
Yeah.
Um, it's a shame that the actor who plays Davros in this story doesn't come back for for the others, and every story that Davros did come back for, they're no good as this one.
No.
So, and the characters, the support characters, you get Davros's second, I can't remember, Davros' second command.
Davros' second in command, Nida.
Nida.
Peter Miles.
Yeah, Peter Miles, just incredible. I really liked him a lot, and the show he died. Well, no, it's a shame they never bring him back for a new story.
It's ironic because the Daleks killed him.
Yeah, and I kind of think actually if they bring him back and the same guy you could make another good Dalek story. So yeah, this is such a great Dalek story. Definitely recommend it. My first one I brought. I don't know how old this story is. This DVD is. It's probably about because I got it when it first came out, and I remember it had the stickers. It's #1 best story of all time. So yeah, definitely check this one out. You get to go to Skaro. The sets are really good to watch. It's really studio bound, but it's so good. It's so dark and gritty. So overall, I definitely check this out. Chairs of the Daleks, my favourite Doctor Who story of all time.
And for me, my #1, incidentally, is Pyramids of Mars,
Ooh.
which is your number
Number 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I love this story. I mean, I agree with you that number 4 was a bit rushed, episode number 4, but I love the gothic horror style about it.
Yes.
But the fact that it has that typical Doctor Who sci-fi twist, such as the mummies that turn out to be just service robots, and I really love the Sutek, and I think they should probably bring back the species at least. The Osirans. I did love how they brought Gabriel Wolves back to do the Beast, the voice of the Beast. One of my favourite scenes in this story is when the Doctor takes Sarah back to an alternative 1970s when to show her how bad that Sutek could be if they allowed him to be released.
I mean, Sutek's really powerful. You really think compared to all the things like what he can do with his powers and what the Daleks it would take. How long will it take the Daleks to Cybermen the Master to do? Sutek could easily do that.
I think it's one of the things, one of those beings that if the Doctor would be almost helpless again.
Yeah, they showed that you have a taste of that because the Doctor just gets tortured in this story.
Yeah.
Just to make a little note, Elizabeth Slater, when she had the rifle, she said she didn't want to shoot first turn because she said it wasn't her character.
Yeah.
So they wanted to try multiple times. Then she got it right. So I really like that.
I think I agree. Episode 4 was a bit rushed, which gave me a bit of a feel of 4 to Doomsday, one of Peter Davison's early stories.
Oh yeah, that was his second.
Yeah. I think that was a bit rushed. At episode 4, which sort of put me in mind of this one. Yeah. Both of them are a bit similar in that aspect. And I think another aspect, which I find similar to Peter Davison, is that no one really survived apart from the Doctor and Sarah.
Yeah.
Which is it almost makes it feel like it should belong in Peter Davison's last season, because they have that thing about because those stories have that thing about them where very few characters survive.
I thought just came out of an idea. Could you imagine Pyramids of Mars was Tom Baker's regeneration story? That would have been really fascinating because you get
if he killed Sutek, but Sutek
he had to pay a price. Then he regenerates.
Yeah,
I think that could have been. I'm not saying Pyramids of Mars would have been better. I'm saying Logopolis could have been better.
Yeah.
So so we done our. Anything you want to say, Will?
No, I think.
That's it, guys. That's our top 5 stories. Check my videos out, Hengster reviews, and try my Facebook page. I'll put a link down below. This is William. I've got you back, guys. Peace out.